Today, returning to Spheriang, the car broke down right at Khao Sat. Remembering the old story to tell everyone. Those who are in the north. It's cold and rainy. Cover yourself with a blanket. It's very interesting to read. In 93/94 or so, we came here. At that time this place was still deserted. The fields were abandoned. The trees were bare. We found an abandoned house. At first we thought the house turned out to be an old cow pen, and temporarily stayed there. Next to that were 2 or 3 trees that were quite large. Like fig trees, and a large mango tree with strange-looking roots and small, sour fruits. From where we could clearly observe both sides of the bridge. A few hundred meters below there was a residential area. At that time, it was June or July. It was very hot. During the day we had to crawl down into the small river. And only at night we could get to the shore. There were a lot of mosquitoes. So we took out the bullets, crushed the medicine, mixed it with mud water and applied it to ward off the mosquitoes. One night, when I had just crawled out of the river and crawled up to the shore, I suddenly saw a few silhouettes of people above the abandoned cowshed. At first, I thought they were people. However, there were few people there because the area was very deserted. So my 2 younger brothers and I crawled up to take a look. All 3 of us saw a few silhouettes. But we didn't hear voices, only giggles. I wondered, were the village boys and girls out here, flying kites? But that area was still chaotic. How easy was it? When I crawled closer, it was completely silent. I was busy observing the surroundings. When I looked back, there was no one. A younger brother pointed to the mango tree and whispered, "It's up the tree. Bro, I'll shoot." I told him, "No, calm down and see who it is." The moon was very bright at that time so we couldn't have seen wrongly. The 3 of us climbed up to the big trees. Observed from the base to the top. There was no one. I shivered slightly. Oh no, it's teasing you guys. The younger brother who had never experienced this yet asked me, "Who's teasing you, bro?" The other guy grinned. "Who else but a ghost? Do you see if there's anyone there? Where are the crazy people who come here to tease and get shot for no reason?" I sat and looked around for a while then decided to retreat. The younger brother, the sniper, pulled out his dagger and grinned. "Wait bro, I'll climb up and get some mangoes first." The 2 of us stood under the bamboo roots. The surroundings were eerily quiet. The sniper jumped down from the tree, rubbing the ants while muttering, "Damn, there's really a ghost." "Bro," I asked him, "what did you see?" He said, "I was twisting the branch to pick the mangoes when I clearly saw a girl with long black hair sitting right next to me, looking at me and smiling. I bent down, reached out, pulled out my knife, and when I turned around, I couldn't see her anymore. I picked a bunch and the ants bit me so much that I rubbed the ants on my neck and touched something cold and soft right next to my neck. It was so creepy, I just fell down." I tilted my head back to look up at the tree. The dark foliage on the branches where a person could stand still seemed to be nothing. But outside the leaves were dense. So why was a person standing there? The 3 of us sat there, munching on mangoes and looking around. Suddenly, thump, thump, mangoes from the tree fell continuously all around. We all jumped up in surprise, still seeing nothing. There was no wind. I said, "Go away, you're teasing me." As soon as I finished speaking, small, above my head, I swung my hand to catch the mango that had just fallen on my head. I thought it was a mango, but it turned out not to be, just a lump of mud. At this point, I felt that something was wrong, so I decided to urge the other 2 to quickly retreat. After crawling down a bit, the 3 of them stopped to rest for a bit. I told the 2 of them to feel if there was mud on your hat. The 2 of them leaned their faces close to look at it for a while and said, "Nothing." Bro, obviously, I caught a lump of mud at that time. When I smelled it, it only smelled like mud, fishy. 2 nights later, we moved down closer to where there were houses. During the day, I observed with binoculars and saw a ruined house. About 100 meters away from the house, there were a few pieces of wood stuck crookedly, like a fence. The second time I observed the house, I clearly saw a woman sitting there cutting something, wearing black clothes. Just sat down and talked to my brothers. There was someone in the house. A guy stood up and looked through binoculars. But he said no one was there. I said, "You just saw it." The guys looked back. It was true that there was no one. The abandoned house was empty. Only the roof and a few planks remained. Not intact, so why would they be hiding somewhere? At around 3 p.m., I crawled up to the house alone. My brothers hid underneath and watched. I entered the house. It was truly an abandoned house. The floor was all grass and nothing. I got goosebumps when I saw a rusty knife and a piece of wood used as a chopping board that was bent, cracked, and moldy. Cold sweat when I thought about what I saw before. The next night, 2 guys followed the riverbank down below. There was a group of guys below. When they came back up about 1/2 hour, 2 guys laughed happily and said, "There are girls bathing." Guys. The guys immediately. The whole group was lying down and asked where. All the guys hadn't unbuttoned yet. So when they saw the girls, their eyes lit up immediately. 2 guys said, "Right at the collapsed platform. This place is the platform of the old bridge that was destroyed by a mine." We groped over and saw them swimming and playing with each other. I asked, "Are you sure? Who would be bathing at this hour?" And there were women too. The 2 guys were sure. The guys followed down together. From quite a distance, I did hear people chattering. Definitely women's voices. Could it be? When we got closer, the bridge platform was an empty space. So we crouched down and walked forward. Suddenly the guy in the lead stood up, looking bewildered. The whole group stopped. All around was silent. It was strangely quiet. No one was there. The stone bridge was deserted under the moonlight. Not a single person. The water here flowed very still. Not even a ripple could be seen. So I wonder what we all just heard. The whole group turned back and hid in the shadow of a leaf canopy, whispering to each other. "We just heard it, but why was there no one there?" One of them muttered. He was being teased again. As soon as he finished his sentence, boom, boom, while they were whispering to each other. I was still straining my eyes to look at the rocky area. I didn't see anything. When I just glanced up along the shore, I clearly saw 2 or 3 white and black shadows, jumping into the water from a tree, dry and bare, without a bunch of leaves. The branches didn't shake anymore. The water surface was blurred with waves. If the other place wasn't quiet, I would have fired a few shots into the water there right away to see what would happen, but at that time, there was no way. That was just one of the many times we were teased or played with. Maybe we saw wrong, heard wrong.